'Tis the season to be jolly, although we don't really have much to be jolly about right now as
La
Dolphin
la la
fans.
la 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 la. Did I do that right?
Something like that. But yeah, welcome to another episode of The List. As always, I am Brett, joined by Jordan. Uh, Jordan, yesterday was another Dolphins loss, but I didn't really care too much about the loss in the grand scheme of things. Before we get into the game, we can honestly say, and I'll let you do this, loss is probably the best for us right now.
Look, and I feel like we battle this. Hello, carpet. We battle this every year, and it feels like every single year, because on one hand, you want to root for us to win every game.
Yes.
On the other hand, once you lose, you kind of start turning towards draft position. Now, we're playing two teams in the next 2 weeks that are likely playoff teams that have games that matter, so it doesn't look like we're going to be getting another win this year. But yeah, I mean, I think the outlook is you're trying to get kind of as close to the top as you possibly can.
Yeah. If I didn't have to work tomorrow morning, I'd be right there with you, CD. Jordan has no excuse. Jordan should be drinking right now, but
Jordan has nothing but some Arrowhead water next to him.
Yeah. Mr. S and I were talking earlier. I think he has a tweet out there on our Twitter, on our X List podcast, List Fins Pod, excuse me, that does have it broken down. But there is a chance, but we need help that we can get as high as 7 in the draft order. But I think realistically, the most likely is 8th or 9th. Saw you sharing some mock drafts. We can get into that in a little bit, but where are you expecting us to draft around?
Yeah, I think probably that higher end, 8, 9. If we're lucky, we get to 7. If we're unlucky, we're at 10 or 11. But I think you're in prime position where, and I think I said this last episode, the more quarterbacks that decide to come out, and it's looking like the most it's going to be is 3, potentially 4. But the more that come out, the better, because it doesn't look like you're going to be able to get number 1.
Yep, and we will get into that in a little bit. But yeah, let's focus on the game, which to me the most important thing was to see how Quinn Ewers looked. I don't know if you noticed it, but we are now the University of Texas's favorite Dolphins podcast with the Quinn Ewers hype. So hook 'em. But and I can do that now, especially because the Aggies lost to the Hurricanes, so you can't do the horns down anymore. You got to do hook 'em horns until next week when Michigan plays them, but that's another story.
I was going to say, doesn't Michigan play Texas?
We do, but
I hope that
it's a bowl game with
Mr. S wants to blow up you doing the hook 'em horns.
He can do that.
Preparation for Michigan playing Texas.
Yeah, it's all for Quinn Ewers, baby. So we'll do hook 'em for Quinn Ewers, and then next week, horns down. But anyway, you and I talked about this last week. I said I would consider it a victory if he did not have 3 turnovers and completed over 50% of his passes. And he did complete over 50% of his passes, and he did not have 3 turnovers. He had 2. We can get into that. Not the Michigan thing about the turnovers. But I thought Ewers was fine. Not going to say it was good. Not going to say it was bad. He was fine, which I had low expectations for this first game because it was his first game. It was on a short week. But he looked comfortable. On the initial eye test, I think he looked more assertive than Tua has this year, and I think you could notice the zip on his ball. I think that opened up the offense a little bit. But, yeah, for me, he gets the rest of the year. I did not see any reason to not be discouraged by his performance, especially.
I think he definitely gets the rest of the year. I don't think he showed enough.
Next week, Ozzy, we are doing the Haka next week.
We are.
Yes.
Oh.
It will not be with green hair. We were talking about it. I was told under no circumstances can I have the green hair with it, and that is for my actual job for reasons. But I will be doing the Haka next week. Yes.
Okay. So we're getting part of it paid off. Look at you, Brad. I'm proud of you. Where were we? Quinn Ewers?
Quinn Ewers.
I don't think he was good enough for you to say, all right, I definitely want him to be the starting quarterback next season. But I don't think he was bad enough to say he doesn't even have potential as a backup quarterback.
Yeah. And to be clear, he's got the 3 games to get a bigger, not a big, but a bigger sample size for that.
I think that no matter what, we're going to kind of be in the race for one of those number 1 first round quarterbacks, whether it's Mendoza or if Moore comes out or if Simpson comes out. I think no matter what, we're going to be linked to all 3 and do our due diligence on all 3. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be and probably John Mateer as well. But I think it's going to be a question of, do we have the resources to get that player? And how comfortable do we feel if it's not that player, if we don't get one of those players? How do we feel about possibly going into the season with Quinn Ewers? Or how aggressive do we need to be with a Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, Malik Willis type player? But I think that Quinn still gets these next 2 weeks. And I don't think the Bengals game was his only opportunity that he'll get. And I don't think his chance is gone because of anything he did in that Bengals game.
Yeah, and let's talk about the 2 interceptions real quick. First one, when I first saw it live, I was like, Theo, we should catch that ball. But then you see it again. It could have been defensive pass interference because the defensive back got there early. But he broke on the ball. Ball got tipped in the air, tip drill. Bengals came up with that. I'm not going to blame Ewers for that. The second interception, I almost thought he was trying to throw away and just didn't get enough on it. But the one thing I did notice Ewers does have to work on is he does have a habit of scrambling to his right and then just taking off of his back foot, just lobbing a ball up there. First drive it worked, got that nice catch by Darren Waller. Second drive, Waddle didn't have a chance at it, which I've noticed anytime we're throwing contested balls to Waddle, he usually doesn't have a chance at it, which I don't know if that's saying much about Waddle or not. What I did come out of this game saying is something you and I have said all year. We need guys on the outside, man. We need to upgrade the height and the skill at wide receiver. Malik at this point is just a gadget player and a slot, but we just do not have anybody at the wide receiver position outside of Waddle who can make themselves available and really make tough catches. Waller can make tough catches. I don't really think he is an outside threat, though, and he is a free agent, so it's no guarantee he'll be back. Dulcich is not an outside threat. Dulcich, again, I thought had a good game outside of his fumble. But, yeah, I just came away saying, man, we thought we had a great wide receiver room, and we were wrong.
Yeah, I think that if you had to look at this team and give, like, let's say a top 4 needs, 2 on offense, 2 on defense. I think we talked about last week on defense. It's safety and it's another inside linebacker to go with Jordan Brooks. I think that's what you're looking at defensively. But offensively, you got to figure out the quarterback position, and you need a big body receiver. You need to do that at some point in this offseason, and probably the 2nd or 3rd round of the draft.
Yeah. I do think Theo Weiss did have some moments where I would definitely give him the rest of the season too. We can elevate him the rest of the season, and for those following the comp pick, we are in a situation now where Nick Westbrook-Akine, with his snap count, is close to canceling out the automatic 4th comp we would get for Javon Holland because Javon Holland got hurt. So NWI is probably shut down for the year. So we are probably going to be seeing more of Theo Weiss. And I'm fine with that. I don't think he looked awful. I think he looked like an undrafted raw wide receiver. But, you know, I'm fine with it. But, yeah, we need to figure that out. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say about the offense. We just, again, and to this point, we are going to do a deep dive into Mike McDaniel at the end of the season. The reason I say that is feelings towards Mike change week to week, where it went from we're all out to we're in to we're out to we're leaning towards him staying. I think a lot of people are now out again. at this point, I don't care. So I want to be able to go back and look at the whole season. The one thing we can both agree on, Jordan, we are the worst third quarter team in the NFL.
By a lot.
That is the biggest red flag against Mike, because that is saying you are not making adjustments at halftime. And it just compounds. The offense starts making mistakes. We can say we basically had 4 turnovers in a row. We had the fumble, we had 2 interceptions, and then we had we didn't convert to 4th down, where we actually did do a QB sneak, but Ewers tripped. So that didn't happen. But yeah, I'm at a loss for words, because the offense looks completely unprepared. And then, as we're talking about defensively, Dodson has regressed again, where you get moments from him, but he's not consistent anymore. Ashton Davis, we thought would be a good signing. He has gotten very close on plays and then just doesn't make them, and it results in big plays. And Iffy, we thought would be a good safety. And again, there's moments, but he's way too often he gets lost in coverage, lost in run support, and it leads directly to touchdowns. So I think at the end of the day, defensively, we're just seeing that what we thought would be a strength, the safety room, just isn't a strength, to the point where you got Dante Trader, who I thought was good for in the middle part of the season while Davis was hurt. I think you just got to make him the starter and just ride with him to see what you got.
Yeah, I think you're at the point, and again, like you said, there's not a ton to talk about. But I think you're at the point that all the young guys that you have that are going to be on roster next year and under contract next year, those should be the guys that get priority to play in these last 2 games. Guys that you want to see what they can do, and guys that potential momentum or even learning mistakes and stuff you're going to take from film can be learned and can be accomplished over the next 2 games.
Yeah. So, like you and I were talking about a little bit, I was looking at our practice squad earlier. Of course, I would give Theo Weiss a look. You could say AJ Henning, but we already have a fast, tough midget wide receiver in Malik Washington, who does everything that Henning does, but a little better. But if you want to give him a look, that's fine. Derek McClendon, I think, should get brought up, because as the defense overall has performed well, but we struggle generating a natural pass rush, for lack of a better word. I like Chop Robinson as a prospect. I like to pick. I'm not giving up on him, but I think it's clear at this point, especially with Bradley Chubb fading at the end of the year, and we're probably going to cut Chubb in the offseason. You got to look and see what you have at other edge rushers. Cam Good's never been an edge rusher. Quentin Bell is older. He comes up with plays every so often, but he had a rough game, I thought, this weekend. You got to see if any of these guys on the practice squad have it. And aside from McClendon, you're looking at Andre Carter, who we picked up off of waivers a couple weeks ago. He's on the practice squad. Yeah, I think edge also becomes a need. I'm willing to give Chop another year, but I'm not banking on it in the past. And even when Jalen Phillips was here getting pressure, he wasn't finishing. And, well, sacks aren't the end-all, be-all. As we even saw on Sunday, when you do get pressure, a good quarterback can extend a play, and they will eventually find an open guy. So you got to start looking at some of these young guys to see what we got.
Yeah, I think that, Chop is a guy that either you're going to be expecting very big things from him going into next season, or he's a guy that, if you're talking about making a move for a quarterback and you're looking at what guys on this roster do we have value, he's one of those guys you're going to look at. But then you look up and down this roster, and how many guys
you have
you
to cut
see
Chubb's scout vision
that stay. And what was that, Brett?
I was just looking at this. I think we have to cut Chubb. Like, it's now, and we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, I think Chubb is getting cut.
Yeah, and I think you just have to look up and down this roster and figure out situations like that. Like, if you know you're cutting Bradley Chubb, obviously at this point you're not getting anything for him. Who else on this roster will you have next year, and where can you find some snaps for those guys, and where can you find some snaps for guys that you think you can develop because next year, with all the dead money that we're going to be sitting on, obviously, you're going to have to cut some corners and hit on some guys if you want to be even remotely competitive.
Yep. Another thing to think about too, something that's become pretty obvious this season, I think the talent on this team is better than it's shown, but I do think it's become very clear, especially defensively. In the back seven, we just lack athletes. Like, they may, by pure RAS score, they may be good athletes, but once you get our guys moving east-west, it's over. They don't win 50-50.
We have a lot of holes to fill, Brett.
I don't think we have a lot of holes. I think there's a lot that, depending on what changes happen, you can hide. But I do think we need to add a little bit more athleticism. And I think the last two classes, Chris Greer tried to change it. But the issue is you're taking risk on guys who are not elite athletes. Chop hasn't worked out so far. Channing Tindall didn't work out. He was an elite athlete. It feels like something that has happened is we've gone too far into the banking on at first the Dolphins were always a team that would take guys with good film but weren't good athletes and hoping that the film translated, and they were good enough to be mediocre. And now you're seeing the opposite, where you're hoping the athlete develops, and again, you're just getting bursts of it from everybody. You're not getting consistency.
And do you think that that's an argument towards even passing on a quarterback altogether in the first round, because you have so many things that you need, and so many high-level guys that you need to add those in the early round of a draft before plugging a quarterback in, and you wait until 2027?
I think, again, like you mentioned, and we can just go right into it because it does kind of go, because when we're talking about the Dolphins now, again, rest of the year is just about seeing where Quinn Ewers is and if you're comfortable with him. I do think at this point, until we see what quarterbacks declare, my preference is to see enough from Quinn Ewers to say you're comfortable with him going into the season as a starter, because now this will change. If Dante Moore enters the draft, changes a lot. If Ty Simpson enters the draft, even though I'm not as high on him as some people are, changes a lot, because quarterbacks get pushed up. They enter the draft, you're going to be talking about them. We were talking about Darian Mensah a little bit last week, who a lot of people love. He decided to go back to Duke. I do not think you throw away a quarterback, but I think unless at least one other person enters, we are at a point where you cannot sell the farm to get a quarterback. So at this point, until I see at least two more guys enter the draft, and we can throw John Mateer in there. I'm not a big Mateer guy right now, but I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that when he hurt his hand in October, he was awful for a month and a half, 2 months, because he couldn't throw. So part of that is living in the moment for me. I do think until we see more guys enter, I am at the point where I was last week, where I'm still aiming for one of the top corners or one of the top wide receivers. And I think right now my first choice is still Carnell Tate. Now, if we move up a little bit more and you can get me into the Caleb Downs range again, I would take Caleb Downs in a heartbeat over anybody in this draft for the Dolphins.
But, I still think that if I'm drafting a guy number one, I'm taking Mendoza.
I'm talking
right now, quarterbacks aside, Caleb Downs and Arvell Reese are probably 1-2 for the Dolphins. And one of those guys.
Arvell Reese is probably going top 3, though. He's probably top 3. Nope, agree. At this point, like I said, we're waiting, Mr. S, until we see who enters the draft. And this is a good point, too. Every mock draft I've done, I think Tate, I think Tyson are better than the guys we can get in round 2 at wide receiver. But on the flip side, I think Brunzell, Surratt, Bernard, those wide receivers are betting
$1,000,000%
better than any cornerback in round 2.
For sure.
But I just think a guy like Tate, man, if you can get Carnell Tate on your team, you got to do it, I think, at this point.
It's going to be interesting. I think that there are a lot of directions. And it's interesting how you said it, because to me, there are two different tiers. When you are picking in, let's say, 1 to 6, you just try to get a stud player and you go from there. I think when you're in the range that we're going to be in, you start doing that. Okay, I like this player better than this player, but I like the guys at round 40 at that position better. So you start combining the puzzle pieces and see what'll make the best draft. And I think that's also something the Dolphins really haven't done, because you have to do that over the course of a couple of years too. And I think that we're going to get in a position where we're going to look and say that we would feel much better about a receiver in round 2 or 3 than about Cardell Tate and Jordan Dyson.
Yeah. McCoy is a great corner. He just missed a year with an injury, so that leaves a lot of unknowns. And as much as I love McCoy, from what he saw, Dolphins take too many risks on injured players. So that is you want to gamble on talent there, but the injury does scare me. Dolphin fans always complain about how we always sign and draft injured players. That's the same thing. I think at that point, still Mansour is my number 1 corner at this point, until I see how healthy McCoy is.
I agree. And then the other one there from our admin about tackles, I think I have Fano number 1.
Yes.
Being Dolphin specific, because he can plug and play at right tackle. I think the right tackle from Miami, although some people think he's a guard, I think he's number 2 just because of that natural fit there. Although I'm a huge Jennings Dunker fan, I just think where we're going to be picking is a little high. And I think where we're picking in the second round is probably a little low.
Yeah, Dunker's probably going to raise up the board. Offensive line's always so tricky. You can't discount offensive line in the draft. And we will be having more, because we are filming an episode tomorrow with spoil everybody, we're going to be talking with Bro Schmo, one of the bigger draft YouTubers out there. He is also a Dolphins fan, so we will be bringing this up with him tomorrow, talking about prospects, talking about some of the people he feels might be underappreciated. But you always look at offensive line. I do think this year, especially the fact that we spent most of the year being able to make a competent offensive line with Larry Borum and Cole Strains as the right side. I'm not saying don't pass on a good offensive lineman, but unless you get a chance at Fano, and you can talk me into the Miami offensive lineman, but I wouldn't force that round 1.
I agree. I think that you're looking at, like you said, just Fano. And then, I mean, we can do this. And if you're picking at 9, you could take the 9 players that you think it could be and start eliminating them. And I think that if you look at it, Fano's probably the only guy at that position. I think you look at the 2 quarterbacks, Dante Moore and Fernando Mendoza. I think Dante Moore
might end up being the number 1 guy if he enters.
And I think that if he's going to be the number 1 guy, then I think he comes out.
Yes.
Like, other than those guys, Caleb Downs is probably the only guy I take over Fano.
Yes. If Spencer Fano is there, yes, you take Fano.
Well, Arvell Reese, obviously.
Yeah, Arvell Reese too. But if Arvell Reese makes it to number 4 in the draft, I'd be surprised. Arvell Reese is that level of a prospect.
So if you're looking at building the Dolphins big board, you're going probably 1 Dante Moore, Mendoza, 3 Arvell Reese, 4 Caleb Downs, 5 Spencer Fano.
Yes. I would throw, again, Ty Simpson, if he enters, is going to be a polarizing figure, because as good as he was in October, he was that bad in November. So he's going to be polarizing. But with the questions at quarterback, you got to consider him.
For sure.
Ty Simpson is the one quarterback I am fine passing. You can talk me into taking him, but I'd be fine passing on him.
Look, I'm going to be open to any first-round quarterback that we're looking at. So I am I'm open to it. And I'm sure that whoever this general manager is and whoever our head coach is, I think they're going to be doing a very deep dive on every quarterback and know that their futures are heavily tied to whichever one they take.
Yep. And I know everybody's talking about, yes, 2027 looks like an insane quarterback class. But I feel like every year we talk about how insane a class looks. We get there. A lot of the people we were hyped about the year before fall off a cliff. A lot of guys do not live up to hype. Look at this year. We were talking about Drew Aller and Garrett Nussmeier at the start of the year. And Arch Manning. Arch started slow, is going back to school. Drew Aller destroyed his leg. I have a feeling he's going to apply for a medical red shirt and probably transfer. Nussmeier was hurt, fell off a cliff. They're not going first round. That could happen. And then you start looking at it. Julian saying, it's a guy everybody loves right now. I think against Indiana a couple weeks ago, you actually saw some concerns with him where he's a smart quarterback, but he does have some arm limitations. Yeah. And that really showed up against Indiana. He is a young quarterback, though, so does he take that step? Riola, transferring. How does he look in a new situation? Everybody loved him his freshman year, and everybody's like, he's a lock to be a first overall pick as soon as he's draft eligible. How does Brendan Sorsby develop? He is transferring. All these quarterbacks are transferring.
Rocco Beck's transferring.
Who's was it Sam Levitt, who's at Arizona State? He's transferring. These are all guys who could fight for first-round pick next year. Honestly, some of them would probably be first-round picks if they entered this year, but they didn't. Darren Mensah, guy we talked about, he's going back to Duke. How does he develop? So, yes, if you get a chance at a quarterback and you have that conviction that he's the guy, take him. If you do not have that conviction, you don't just take a quarterback to take a quarterback, build up the team. I am really hoping that Ewers shows enough that we don't feel forced into taking a quarterback. But if we are going to sign a veteran for a year, to me, I just say at this point, I'm like, just sign Jameis Winston because we're not going to be good.
100%.
It would be fun.
Jameis Winston would be an upgrade to what we've seen at quarterback.
He already snapped his leg, carpet dinosaur, so he can't snap his hip. So it would be double.
Jameis Winston would be a huge upgrade. Marcus Mariota would be an average size upgrade. Malik Willis probably would be a small upgrade.
Malik Willis, I don't think would be an upgrade, but I don't think he'd come here because he would know he wants to start. And if he comes here, I think they would tell him, look, it's a 2-year deal. You're getting, depending on how the draft falls, you might get 1 year as the starter. But
where is he going to get much better than that?
That's a good question, but I don't think it's going to happen.
So I think that Jameis obviously somehow is the prize of that.
Yeah, Mariota would be boring, but he would hold down the fort, I think.
Joe Flacco?
He would hold the fort down, but I don't know. Yeah.
Like that, those are the guys you're going to be looking at if you want to go the veteran route.
Yeah, that's why I said I think all Dolphin fans should be rooting for Ewers to have I would say if the baseline is yesterday for Ewers and he puts up those performances, maybe not get 2 interceptions every game, but if you have that baseline and you say, okay, Joe, go get some talent around him, that would be the idea for me. But again, Dante Moore enters the draft. That changes the game state for a lot.
Yeah, I think Dante Moore and Ty Simpson declaring kind of puts the Dolphins in a position that they can go up and make something happen because teams are going to be more willing to part for QB2 or QB3. If there's only one, if it's just Mendoza, you have no shot of getting up there.
Yeah, Mr. S, I'm just going to say this. Yes, if Tua getting back to 2023 form would be ideal, but I am working under the assumption based off what everybody's saying is he's not going to be back, so this isn't an option. So you say we are not being rational. At this point, you got to treat it like Tua is not going to be on the team. And it's just that simple. We can't – nothing points to Tua being back. If he's back, sure, you say you got 1 year to show you can get back to it. But based off of everything that's coming out, the fact that I am of the impression that Tua is, if he's back, he's got a lot of bridges to mend. I don't think the Dolphins want to mend those bridges. I think the Dolphins just want to get him out of the building. And I'm going to do that. Well, you are right. The GM and coach will decide, but we are doing a podcast, so we got to talk about the realistic scenarios. So at this point, the assumption is Tua is not going to be back. So,
but we also, bro, we talked about this last week. The best case scenario for the Dolphins right now, number one, is that Quinn Ewers turns into Tom Brady, Baker Mayfield, 7th round pick, superhero, Brock Purdy type quarterback. That's best case scenario for this organization. The second best possible or case scenario is that Tua has some call to Jesus moment over the offseason and turns into, Baker Mayfield won first overall, but Quinn Ewers was the number one player in the country coming out of high school. Like, we're doing a show here. So best case scenario is Quinn Ewers. Second best case scenario is that Tua comes back. Everything else after that is probably more likely than those two. So you have two buckets. Either draft somebody first in the first round, and that's Mendoza, Moore, or Simpson, if the latter two come out, or Mateer, which I think is less likely. Or you sign a veteran, which is trade a late round pick for Jameis, Mariota, Malik Willis. Those are the buckets of possibilities. Whether you like it or not, those are the buckets of possibilities.
You have valid points, Mr. S, and you are more than welcome to join the stream to describe them and not just type them for me to put them on screen. It is a fair thing to think about, but you also have to take the emotion with Tua out of it and realize he is probably not back. So we can discuss that, but like you said earlier, it is up to the GM. But as of right now, we got to take all context clues, base it off of context clues, and act as though Tua is not going to be back. So that is what we are talking about. And that's basically it. And again, I said it last week. If Tua's back, I will root for him if he's here. And if he is back in rebounds, I will gladly eat troll or crow. And yes, that is my thing.
That was the first thing we said.
Yes.
That is best case scenario.
We've literally said this is best case scenario. Yes, I would love for Quinn Ewers to show enough.
Again, you say you want 17 games of Quinn Ewers over those guys. So do we.
Yes, so do we.
Quinn Ewers shows any remote semblance of being a starting quarterback.
We also said this too. Yes, if we're going veteran, go Jameis. It would be entertaining, but it's not guaranteed we get Jameis Winston, so you have to look at other options. And we are not talking about giving these guys any long-term commitment to quarterback.
Brett, before we get off here, because I know we're going to do the McDaniel thing at the end of the year, and I see this coming to a close but do you know, Brett, the significance of the number 337?
Not off the top of my head, no.
337 is the amount of followers over 2,000 that we are currently at.
Yes, I know. I already said I'm doing the Haka next week. There's a reason why I haven't done it. The haka will be done next week. We will open the show with me doing a haka, and then everybody can laugh at me for how I look and how stupid I look.
Wait, how you look? Are you going to wear the thing?
No, just doing the haka.
Okay.
I'm going to look dumb doing it. But yes, again, and we will talk more about McDaniel later. We do not want, well, when we say we, I don't want to just look what's fresh in the mind, because my opinion on where Mike McDaniel stays, whether he stays or go, changes. All I will say on this is, at this point, if he's back, fine. If he's gone, fine. I want to take all the games, review it, probably do it on, that will probably be one where we do Sunday, because if we do it on Black Monday, it'll probably be a little too late.
It's true.
And just to get it to, where do you stand on that, on with McDaniel right now?
It's so tough, man, because I would love to see him with a new quarterback, but I don't know, man. I wouldn't be surprised if we move on. I wouldn't be surprised if we keep him.
Yeah. I think Schefter coming out twice in the last couple of days saying it's not decided yet tells me that they are leaning. I think it tells me that they are leaning towards letting him go, but they want to see Ewers. But I'm not saying that McDaniel was forced to play Quinn Ewers, but I do think they want to. I think there is part of them that says, "Look, you've won what, 2 games without Tua starting in your career. That's not good. The offense doesn't look functional." I would say yesterday was the first time the offense has actually looked functional without Tua starting. So
True.
I think they want to get a couple game sample size to see, like, look, do we trust you with a new quarterback? Yes, it is hard to make those changes in season, so that may not be fully fair, but I think signs are pointing more towards a fresh slate for everybody with whatever GM we hire, whether it's Champ Kelly or someone outside the organization. I think they are leaning towards letting McDaniel go and giving whoever the GM is, and to as well. I think it is more likely McDaniel is back by himself, or both of them are gone, and I think both Tua and McDaniel being back.
I agree with that.
Yes. This is where we're leaning towards now. Yeah, this is a bit of a shorter episode, like we said. We could talk about the Bucs game, but again, I really don't care if we win or lose. I'm just focusing.
Not about that anymore.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Again, we're just going to be looking to see how Quinn Ewers plays, see if Achane can get to number 2, because I think he's 100-some yards away from having the second best rushing season in Dolphins history, yards wise.
Brett, tell the people one more time what we're doing tomorrow.
So tomorrow we will be recording an episode that will be YouTube exclusive. It will be uploaded to our YouTube channel at the Listfins Podcast, sorry. And it will be with draft YouTuber and Dolphins fan Broshmo. He has the second best facial hair in NFL content creation behind Kent Lee Platt. But yes, we will be doing an episode tomorrow specifically on draft, diving into some draft prospects, seeing where Broshmo thinks we should go. And maybe we'll see if we can convince him to do a little bit of a mock draft with us.
I love it. Sounds like a plan.
So thank you for joining us, everybody. Again, it is a bit of a bummer for the Dolphins season to go how it is, but we'll deal with it, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we and the team can give you a little optimism, both on with the future as well as decisions to made. But we are going to call tonight an end and a wrap, and we will see you tomorrow.
Have a great night, everybody.
Later, guys.